Hey, what's up, Giants fans? Welcome to another episode of Giants Talk. I'm Cole Kuiper here with Giants insider Alex Pavlovic. We've got our end of year awards. We're with you here as 2026 is about to begin. So we're going to recap the 2025 season, hand out some accolades, both positive and negative, to the Giants. Just kind of bask in what was 2025. Before we get started, Giants Talk is presented by Mancini Sleep World. Rest easy with a huge savings during the year-end clearance sale at Mancini Sleep World with Beauty Rest Queen mattresses from $299. Shop sleepworld.com. All right, Alex, end of your awards. Hey, how was 2025 for you?
You said bask, and I feel like that's, there wasn't as much positive as you would associate with like bask.
They were up 2 games in their record from the year before. So that trend line is going up.
The trend line's been here.
Trend line is flat-ish.
It's been flatlined since 2021.
Obviously a disappointing season. Another around 500 finish for the Giants, which is kind of becoming a little bit just who they are. And this is where the Giants have to, next year's the year they have to prove that that's wrong. Let's talk awards. Let's hand out some accolades.
Yeah, I think my overarching thing before we get into like the little ones, the little things that stood out is just wasted opportunity of a team that had enough talent to make the postseason. They get pretty good health from the main guys in the rotation. I mean, Roop gets hurt at the end, but in general, they got good health, and they add Rafi Devers in the middle of this, and should have been a team, I think, and that's why Bob Melvin got fired. Should have been a team that was in the playoff hunt. So a wasted opportunity. You never know when seasons like this, when that many of your key guys are that healthy, are going to come along, and they didn't do much with it.
Yeah. All right. First award I have for 2025. The best on-field moment. We'll start with a positive one. There's plenty of negatives to say, but this is about as fun as you can get. There are a lot of awesome moments, especially early on. And I have a feeling we're both going to pick the same genre of moment because there was a spell there where the Giants could do one thing, and that was walk-off games.
They must have had the highest percentage of like wins that were good, fun. In their actual number of wins, there weren't as many as people had hoped, but like a lot of their wins were incredible wins. Just insane. I mean, we have our little list here. We didn't even get to like Wilmer versus Mason Miller. Wilmer, all the other times Wilmer was at the plate when they won a game. I picked Elliot Ramos's walk-off Little League home run because I went back and watched all of these walk-offs, and I think the thing with that one is just the building anticipation. Is he makes his way around the bases, and it's not just a swing and a drive and game's over. I think that one, like him, you see the ball get thrown away, you see him kind of going in second, going into third, and then just the pop at Oracle Park when everyone realized, oh, he's going home. This is game's over. I picked that one as my best on-field moment, and there were a lot of choices, especially with walk-offs.
That's a great one because it's like you get 4 awesome moments all in one. Every time he was able to take an extra base, you got that surge of adrenaline again, that hype built again. So that's strong. I went with the Patrick Bailey inside the Parker. Just love to see a so-and-so's on the move call from the Giants broadcasters. That one, once it took that bounce, still, I didn't even think it would end up the way it did. And I don't know, the fact that they needed all 3 runs, I believe. I think they were down 2 in that instance. So it came together just perfectly. And for it to be the catcher doing it, such a fun moment and something you'd think we'd get more at Oracle Park with how deep center field can get and how funky some of those angles can be. So cool to see Patrick Bailey got it. But like you mentioned, there were plenty. I mean, walk-off grand slams, walk-off walks, all kinds of fun walk-offs we could have chosen from.
That one was one of the only great moments of the year that I didn't cover. I think the day my book came out, I was at home, and it was one of those where you see social media first and no one's saying exactly what happened. It's just
everyone just says Bailey, a
bunch of bleeps and like Bailey and exclamation points, and you're like, oh, what actually happened?
Yeah.
So that lived up to every exclamation point that people put on their tweets.
Yeah, and those, especially a inside the Parker walk-offs like that, make for such good post-game interviews when they're just gassed and trying to give a good quote and trying to be in the moment, but so wiped out.
Yeah, jerseys ripped. There was a lot of those.
Oh yeah. All right. Second category here in our 2025 recap: the most shocking moment of the season.
I went back to Patrick Bailey because I knew you were going to get Bailey once. We need to get Bailey twice.
He deserves
the walk-off. Yeah, the walk-off slam. And I think not that he doesn't have the talent to do this, but just he had a rough year. So to have a couple of these moments, I think is a little bit of a surprise. And then to do it from the right side where he had not hit a home run in 2 years, really struggles so much so that like people start to, we get questions like mailbag questions. Did he give up switch hitting? And it was, again, if you go back and watch that one, so demonstrative, just so game over. Like, yeah, of course I hit a right-handed walk-off slam here. So it was, I chose that one. That kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, obviously the other walk-off he had was insane as well, but just kind of how quickly that happened and it being a slam from the right side, I think was a stunner.
Yeah, that was a fantastic moment. I took a whole different genre of approach for this one. My most shocking moment was getting the notification that the Rafi Devers trade happened, something that was not on our radar here on this podcast, a position we did not expect them to put a lot of thought into with Bryce Eldridge coming down the pipeline. Giving up a hometown kid to do it, and the fit just unanimously seemed like such a swindle on the Giants' part. It was nice to be on one of those sides of trades. And 2026, we got a full season of Rafi Devers in the Giants uniform. I'm really stoked.
We try to choose different ones here because it'd be lame if we chose the same one over and over again. But Rafi Devers is the choice. It's the answer, the most shocking. I'm eating dinner at Dodger Stadium, and it was one of those where we're looking at. Everyone's kind of like, "Is this real?
What is happening?"
I run out there and I see Sean Jelly warming up, and I'm like, "Oh, like something happened."
All right. We're going to start to get into the critiques of 2025 with this category. Most improved area for the organization. All right. We had a mediocre 2024 season and not that much better 2025 season, but things did, as we said earlier, start to at least a little bit trend up, right?
In some areas, I think the most improved area, I'm going to go way off the board here. I'm going to say their work in Latin America. They did a tremendous job with their signing class in January, which technically counts for our awards here. They have another good class coming next January. So they're going to have back-to-back very good prospects heading their classes. This year, it's Joshua Gonzalez, somebody that, they compared to Francisco Lindor when they signed him. He has done nothing since to throw any cold water on those comparisons. Had a really good summer in the Dominican. He's popping up on top 100 lists. I think I saw him as high as 28 on somebody's list recently. So he's just already a tremendous prospect. And I think the key here is that they, for decades, basically, not totally for decades, I mean, Pablo Sandoval counts, but they had so much trouble in that market. And they've done a lot in the Dominican especially, but also in Venezuela, to do a better job of getting some of those guys in there and see, can you find your Lindor? Can you find your Soto? And I think they've done a really nice job there the last couple of years. It may be a couple more years before it starts to really pay dividends. But for me, when you look at the organization, like that is their biggest area of improvement. And at some point, whether it's trades or, guys rushing through the minors, you're going to see, 5 of their top 10 prospects right now are guys who were signed as teenagers out of Latin America. So you're going to see these guys be stars in San Francisco, or you're going to see them be parts of big trades. So it's going to be important.
Well, speaking of stars, my most improved area is the team finally feeling like it has star power. Between Devers joining Adames, totally winning the hearts of San Francisco, Jung-Hoo Lee having his first full season without the injury in 2024, and another year of Chapman, we're finally at the point where you're seeing more current players' names on the back of fans' jerseys than World Series era players. There's as many Adameses as there are Lincecums and Posies. The Jung-Hoo Lee jersey is everywhere, more so than the Bumgarners and the Sandovals. And it really is making steps towards feeling like the team's not living in the past anymore.
You can pretty safely buy a jersey now.
You can buy that jersey. I mean, you could always get a Logan Webb. You could have gotten a Wilmer Flores over the past years. The Giants had long-term guys, but something feels different about the guys they have right now.
Yeah, and I think the important thing is there's multiple options too. I mean, you could walk into the dugout store and just say, I don't feel like getting a pitcher's jersey, or I don't like that number or whatever. Now there's multiple options. It's such a like weird test, but it's an important test, I think, like the jersey test, something you and I talk about all the time. They have, 4, 5, 6 guys you can comfortably walk into there and say, yeah, all right, I like that guy. And he's going to be around a long time.
Yeah. For the little kid who's like, I'm an infielder. You've got infield stars. The kid who's like, I'm an outfielder. Get a Lee jersey. Yeah. There's plenty of options.
Yeah.
All right. Kind of the flip side of this, Alex, is the needs improvement award. What aspect of the organization, didn't hit? I mean, a lot didn't hit. But what do we want to call out specifically that didn't?
Don't score 0.5 runs per game for like 3 weeks at home. Good one. But I'm going to choose something much more specific, which is every offseason we're doing the same thing and having the same conversation about them not being athletic, not running. Every spring I write the same story. They steal some bases in the Cactus League. They talk about how they're going to run more. They never do. It's just, and even this year was a little bit different because that first road trip, they're running a ton. And they're successful and nobody's running on them. And it's like, oh, is this a little area where they're going to make up some ground on other teams this year? Finally, they finished 29th in stolen bases a year after finishing 29th. The year before that, they were 30th. So just the worst base running team in the majors for the last 3 years. And it's, there's some personnel here that should be fixing this. Like Jung-Hoo Lee, Willie Adames has been a good base runner at times in his career. They got some athletes in there more than they had 4 or 5 years ago. To still be talking about this is like, come on, guys.
Yeah, it always feels weird when the Giants play a team that runs the bases aggressively, because it's kind of like, oh, wow, I forgot that was an option. Why don't we do that? That seems like a lot of fun.
Every time they face Milwaukee, it's like, what is going on here?
You know what? And if they wanted to hone their stealing skills, they've got a catcher who's really good at getting the out at second. They've got the best guy to practice with. Well, you took the specific element of the offense. I just have to take the overall offense. Number 20, they were 25th in the league in total bases, 25th in batting average, 22nd in OPS, 26th in hits. Just for being a team that ended up in the middle of the pack, none of that was due to their offense. The star power I talked about earlier was not putting up the stats that they need to for this team to be successful. And it's just one of the most difficult and most frustrating things as a fan to see anemic offense and the inability to come through in the big moments, which is what just the story of the season was. So as much as I would like them to focus on stealing bases, let's just focus on getting to the middle of the pack in all the major offensive stats first.
Or to 20.
Yeah. Let's break into that. Get the one digit in the rankings.
19, 18.
Yeah, that would be fabulous. Alex, how about this? Looking around the ballpark and the road trips you went on, best foodie find. And I know you travel a lot more than I do, so I'll let you pick from outside Oracle Park if you have any options there. But what was the best ballpark food of the year?
Ooh, this is easy for me. I mean, the banana pudding at Petco Park, it was something that a million people sent to me when it was put out on social media. Like, you're going to do this, right? And I'm like, yes, of course. Comes in a replica Western Metal Supply Co. building. And it was delicious. And pretty good price. I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was like $11 or something like that. So for ballpark food, it was great. And we have been banging that drum here, like, Giants, please. Probably best for us if they don't have the great dessert like that. But no, it was really creative and really well done. And you and I talk about all the time, Petco for food is just top notch.
Top notch. I'm already planning a end of July when the Giants are there trip for the 2026 season. So that banana pudding is going to be on my list.
Banana pudding and trade deadline. There you go.
Done. I'm going to pick the rotating pop-up restaurant the Giants had in center field. It was super cool having that variety of options. The only bummer was some of those options were so good. I was heartbroken when they left. You and I were both a huge fan of the Argentinian pop-up night Julio that was there. But there were some really cool, and it was a fun variety, like not really knowing what was going to be there when I showed up. What am I in for this time? It's going to be something I hit up at least monthly going to games next year.
Oh, it was a great idea. Maybe the best idea they had all year in Haynes' department. The food was great. We recommended it, and I heard from so many podcast listeners who tried those places and were like, these are all welcome additions to the ballpark. So I think the only problem with it was that there was only one stand. Like
expand that.
A lot of good food in the Bay Area. Let's have 3 or 4 of them. We're adding a lot of extra work for people, but
I'm going to throw in an honorable mention. I'm not usually a huge ramen guy. I know, hot take, don't at me. But there was a real rainy day towards the end of the season. There wasn't a delay, but it was just a in between innings. It was coming down, and I got a bowl of ramen and sat there in the rain in center field and ate it with the neon lights around me. And it was a fabulous scene. I felt like I was in like Blade Runner or something. It was awesome.
I think when I did my Alex Eats video at the beginning of the year, I literally said, like, it's a cold night and here's the ramen broth. So this is going to be perfect. So
it was life-saving. And the spill risk was not as much as I expected it to be. It was a real sturdy setup they give you.
Very good, very good combination there. Yeah. Oracle Park, ramen.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
It plays. All right. Back to the on-field options, Alex. The next category I have here is the player we did not talk about enough.
I chose Spencer Bivens because I think we did not, I don't know if we ever talked about this. I think not enough was made of the fact that this guy was basically like on the fringes of baseball for years, including like 4 or 5 years ago. And he spent the entire season in the big leagues. He makes the team out of camp. He had some really good moments, finishes with a 4.0 ERA, 3.7 FIP, had 3 saves, throws 81 innings. I mean, not like a crazy role for him. He's more of a long guy and soaked up a lot of innings for him, but I think somebody that was reliable. And just the fact that, 5 years ago, he's playing for the Washington Wild Things of the Frontier League. 4 years ago, he's playing for the Gastonia Honey Hunters, the Atlantic League. He's in his 30s. He's 31 years old and spends the entire season in the big leagues with everything else that was going wrong at certain points. And for the bullpen, with all the turnover, he's just there all year and someone that Bob Melvin could rely on. I think it's just a really cool story and one that maybe goes under the radar sometimes, is how far off the radar this guy was.
Yeah.
And now he was just a big part of the season.
You have to imagine he's still going out there and kind of like taking a deep breath and looking around some of these ballparks like, wow, where am I right now?
Yeah.
It's so cool.
It's so late in his career, but I mean, he's going to have that full year, now a year and a half big league time. It's life-changing for him and just a really cool story.
Yeah, it's awesome. I picked Drew Gilbert, Alex. We did not talk about him enough. I'm just kidding. I think Drew Gilbert, for the number of innings played, got more discussion on Giants Talk and everywhere else in the Giants fandom than any player in history.
MLB did like a Spotify Wrapped thing where they were like, these are the 5 players who were talked about the most all year. And it was, like Ohtani's first, Judge's second. I think it was Yamamoto, Skeens. I half expected Drew Gilbert to show up on like
right?
the top 5 just because there was a 2-week stretch there where he was talked about by everybody.
Yeah. So that won't be my real pick. You already mentioned him a little, so I'll breeze past this one. But Josuar Gonzalez, just the future of this team. And as we were focusing on what's going on in the big league, I don't think we discussed enough about how much he was impressing scouts, not just in the Giants, but around the league, just blowing the wheels off everyone. Still a teenager. Who knows what the future holds for him, but it seems like that's going to be a name we got to get used to.
Yeah, it's a little hard when guys are, in the Dominican Summer League or in Arizona or even in San Jose, when they're that young to fully like grasp where they stand. But if he replicates this next year, I mean, we're talking like upper echelon prospect ranking. Which, like obviously we've seen that with Luciano and with Eldridge in recent years, but he can be a really, really like a switch hitting shortstop with the skills he has to do this at his age, we could be talking about him as like a top 10 prospect in baseball next year.
Woo.
So yeah, we'll see where this goes with him, but probably we should be following him more closely next season.
Yeah. Remember that name. All right. Next category, Alex, the biggest what if of the year. I love thinking of like sliding door scenarios. How would this be different if the Giants went to the World Series in 2021? What would be different? So what is your what if of this year?
This is a 2025 recap show, but I'm putting you in like 2035, 2040. And I think I'm always going to wonder, like, what if they didn't just blow all of Verlander's wins? And we'll see where his career goes from here. But they blow 7 of his wins in some very memorable ways. He ends up with 4 wins, his fewest in like a real big league season that wasn't impacted by major injuries in his entire career, which is 2 decades. Just like the fact that this guy in spring training is on this podcast talking about how important it is for him to chase 300. We're talking about it all the time. The active wins leader, the last guy probably to ever have a shot at 300. And I'm just afraid we're going to look up one day and be like, what if the Giants had helped him get to like 9 or 10 in 2025 instead of 4?
Yeah. He ends at 290 and that's it. And
yeah,
just got to stew on that one.
Yeah. Makes it hard to do that next season. Like it really set him back. And given the way he pitched, especially in the second half, like it was there for him to get double-digit wins and really give himself a really good shot to get 300.
Yeah, no, that's a strong one. I pulled what happens if the Giants didn't slump at the trade deadline. I can't imagine a 2.5 week stretch leading up to the trade deadline being worse than the one the Giants experienced. They went into it 2-12 in the 2 weeks before that, and on the wrong side of 2 back-to-back sweeps immediately before the deadline. And as we know, despite a lot of what do they need, who do they need to add, who's available, they did decide to sell. They got some prospects, they got some names we've already fallen in love with. Who knows? Maybe it was the right move, but you have to imagine with how close the playoff race ended up being and how low the total number of wins needed ended up being. Having a couple of the relievers, having Tyler Rogers or some of the relievers they dealt could have made the difference there.
I think the most predictable part of the season was that after they traded all their relievers and, went into a sale, that they would lose a bunch of close games down the stretch. And we would be like, and, the Mets came back to them, which we all knew they would probably because they're the Mets. So it was there for them. And I can tell you what would have happened if they didn't get swept by the Mets and getting swept by the Pirates right at the deadline. Like we can go back to like that Monday, Tuesday night, where after that they trade everybody. But I'll tell you what'll happen. They're going to go try to get a starter and add a little bit to this team and see what they can do the final 2 months. So it's a huge sliding doors moment. I think that's probably one that we'll see where 26 goes and 27 and 28. But I bet there's some veterans on this team who are always going to look at that week in July. And not that you're probably not winning a title or anything, but just like really gave up a season because they played horrible baseball at the worst possible time.
Yeah, the 2025 recap and accolades feel a lot different when the team went to the playoffs, even just for one round.
Yeah, everything's different, and it's for a lot of people. And Bob Melvin probably is going to think about that week for years. So
yeah. Speaking of, what about the biggest mistake of 2025, Alex?
The Bob Melvin extension, picking up the option, it was meant to jolt them. Did not work. Ends up becoming expensive. They're on the hook for about $4 million. As you and I will say, not our money, but we also know the Giants are financially a little tight.
Conservative,
a little conservative right now, and every $4 million.
At the end of the day, not our money, but a lot of money.
Yes, a lot of money, and really the timing of it, you can understand what Buster was trying to do, but it just ultimately they end up really pretty quickly. It's like in August where they're like, oh, that was a mistake, and we're going to make a change, and here comes Tony Vitello in October, but I just think for a team that does not necessarily have $4 million to throw around to do that and now be paying $10.5 million to the manager spot in 2026,
Yeah.
and us thinking that that's at least in part hanging over some of the other decisions they make.
Yeah.
That's kind of a killer. And it was really an unforced error.
When I think about mistakes from 2025, really the mistakes I want to talk about would be ones the Blue Jays made in late October, mostly on the base pass, occasionally on the pitching mound. But I don't know that those qualify for this prompt, do they?
I will give you, the guy basically standing on third base. I'll give that to you. That changes a lot. That actually has a huge impact on the Giants fan base.
Oh, I'm certain. So, probably more so than anything the Giants actually did this year.
Yeah, that's definitely more impactful than the $4 million. So,
yeah. But for a more directly Giants-related nitpick, we talked about the fabulous Giants-themed Austin Butler heist movie this year, Caught Stealing. Why was there no tie-in with that on the Giants side? Why weren't we doing anything with that? It was an awesome movie, and it was half about the San Francisco Giants.
He should have been on Giants Talk.
He should have been on Giants Talk.
I don't even remember him being mentioned at the ballpark at all.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. They didn't screen it. They didn't do a bobblehead of him. They didn't do anything.
Can I do a related? How did Tyler Rogers get away without ever having a bobblehead? I have all these my favorites, like the Gnomes, the Bruce Bochy, your dad, Mike, all my favorite bobbleheads, the ones that I think are cool that I've held on to, and Tyler Rogers would have been a perfect fit. I had Pablo pitching back here somewhere.
Yeah.
And I think never did one with Rogers.
That low angle bobble arm would have been such a cool giveaway.
Missed opportunity.
Total missed opportunity. All right. If we're talking biggest mistakes, we might as well flip it on the positive side. What was the best decision made?
Lyndon Roop winning the rotation job. Coming out of camp all spring, we're talking about Roop versus Harrison versus Birdsong, and Roop is the third guy at the beginning of that competition.
Yeah.
Coming off a good year as a reliever, some promising starts at the end of 24. Certainly we like the talent, we like the mentality, but did not think he was going to win that job, and he has a tremendous spring. And I think the decision to make him the guy and, pass up the top prospect, pass up Birdsong, who looked like he could be a future ace at the time, it ends up being the right decision. So whoever in that room, whether it was Buster or Bob or Zach or JP Martinez, all of them, they made the right call there. Landon Roop was a tremendous addition to the rotation, and he looks like a big part of their rotation going forward.
It's sad that in hindsight, I couldn't pick out a really strong, good decision I liked. I guess that's telling about the way the season went. So I'm looking ahead with this one, and I'm saying their best decision in 2025 was locking in opening at home in 2026. I'm really looking forward to the Giants being the only game in town on March 25th. First opening day at home on the schedule since 2009. It's going to be really, really cool. Plus, they didn't have to give up ending at home to do so. I don't know how they swindled that deal, but I love it.
Yankees, right? I mean, Giants, Yankees.
They're old rivals.
It's weird when it pops up on I've seen it already a little bit on MLB social media, the however many months until opening day, and it's going to be Giants Yankees on that graphic for so yeah, I think we talk about this all the time. We've wanted them to open at home every once in a while just to change the vibes, and it's going to be a big deal. So that's an important one.
Well done, Giants. All right, continuing the good vibes, Alex. Team MVP, who do you have?
I think you picked the guy who I could pick every year, but
do you want me to just go and do mine first then, and then you can?
Yeah.
All right. I picked Logan Webb. Once again, putting the team on his back. I mean, it's the kind of thing where you almost forget to pick him because he's just so reliable in and out every year, several years running now, putting up numbers that earn him, accolades in the Cy Young voting. Not the top spot yet, but he's been in the mix. I mean, his pitching repertoire is aging like a fine wine. He's finding new ways to get guys out. This year was all of a sudden the year of a strikeout just because, why not? I can just become a strikeout guy. So for being the ace, for leading the team in WAR, for being the guy, it's amazing how like underappreciated he can still be.
He is their best player. He is one of the best players in baseball. He is maybe the most underappreciated pitcher in baseball, I think, just because nobody seems to care that he leads the league in innings every single year. And just like you said, oh, okay, I'm going to lead the league in strikeouts too and win a Gold Glove. So it's
like it's hard.
One of the biggest disappointments for me of this season and every Giants season recently is just we have seen what Logan did in the postseason when they got him there and how comfortable he was on that stage. And to not give him that opportunity again in his prime would be like a huge waste here. So that Logan's their best guy every single year. I picked Willie Adames. It was a very rough start. Ultimately ends up having a good season. I think really figured it out defensively in the second half. He goes nuts at the plate first stretch there. And a couple of things here. One, he ends up being exactly what they need in the clubhouse and behind the scenes, and just in terms of like fan favorite, team spokesman, leader of the clubhouse, lived up to the hype with all of that. And then the real reason I pick him here is we don't ever have to talk about 30 homers again. Because he finally got it done. So find a way to play left field the next couple of years on opening day and finish that too. Elliott might finish that, but yeah, that is the real reason I picked him. Just finally somebody ended that and had a good year and ultimately ends up with good numbers and really was a good fit.
He took all the pressure off the Giants' back with that one. Build the statue. He needs it. All right. As we start to wrap this up, only a few categories left. Alex, what is your grade for year one under Buster Posey? It's crazy to think this is only year one. Feels like we've been talking about Buster running this show for a while, but he's still getting his sea legs. The team ended up around 500, even if some of us say there was a bit of an upward trajectory from the year before. What's your letter grade?
I'm going to give him a B-, and I think this is, I'm tempted to give him a C just because it was average and it was, I think, a disappointing year. The reason I raise it to a B- is I do think I'm there every day. I talk to a ton of people every day. Obviously, I've been doing this a long time. Know a lot of people behind the scenes. They're so much happier than they were a year and a half ago at this time, 2 years ago at this time. I think internally, everything kind of shifted when Buster took over, and we'll see where that ultimately leads. But I think that's important. And and then from a fan base perspective, the fan base is happier. They came out in much bigger numbers. Attendance was up by like 3,500. I think across the board, we know Giants talk. We've seen our listenership. I think it's just a much happier fan base. So I'm going to give them a little bit of a boost for just that part of this. And Buster sat there on the podium a year plus ago and goes, this is a memory making business. And I do think from that side of it, he did what he could to make Giants fans happy. And ultimately, it's a disappointing season. Ultimately, I think there's some mistakes they made as well. I don't think they went far enough in free agency last year. I think they were a little too patient with some guys. There were a lot of mistakes they made on the field, but I'll give them credit for that. Like the franchise is in a better place than it was a year and a half ago. And I think the fan base is happier than it was a year and a half ago. So I give them a little bit of a boost for that.
I think that is a reasonable and level-headed way of taking it. I see myself in sports as being like the optimist to a fault. I don't like doing the griping, but I am going to do what you couldn't do, and I'm going to drop the C. I'll give him a C+ on this first year. You're absolutely right about the fan experience. You're absolutely right about the vibes being different. But with so many fresh faces to end up where they did, looking at like the way the first few weeks after the Rafi Devers trade went, when they were tied with the Dodgers when it happened and then basically lost for what felt like a month, how bad they were going into the trade deadline. The lows of the season were too low for me to even think about a B or an A.
This is like one of those body swapping movies where we,
right?
The one being like, the vibes were good, people were happy. Here's my thing: I'm at the ballpark I'm at Oracle probably 70 nights a year, and there for a lot of road games. But just in terms of like, it was pretty low for a while. Like attendance was no matter what the number was, there's like probably like 13, 14,000 people there for a while. So for me to see the crowds come back this year and see people be more excited, I think was important. But you are right, on the field, it was mediocre at best and very disappointing.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's 2025. Let's take one more category to look ahead to 2026 before we wrap up our season recap. Alex, we're going to do bold predictions as we do every year at the start of the official 2026 season, but let's just pepper in one now. Do you have one prediction? Doesn't have to be bold for the 2026 year.
I don't think this is that bold. I'm going to go back to your MVP. I think next year is the year where Logan finally gets what he desperately wants, which is that Cy Young. He has been right there in the mix the last 3 years. He finished second to Blake Snell. He finished sixth. He finished fourth this year. The killer for him is just that stretch in July where he has an ERA over 6. And he's had a couple of those over the years. But like we talked about, he added a new trick this year with the strikeouts. He wins a Gold Glove, which when you win your first, oftentimes you get that recognition, but you start running those off if you keep it up, and you can win 2 or 3 of those. And I just think the combination of innings and strikeouts is always going to keep him in that mix. And, if Paul Skeens is going to put up another 1.9, then there's not much you can do. But if he can lower that ERA and avoid that skid and be, in the 2.6, 2.7 range one of these years, I think the overall resume would be really impressive. And he just has to avoid like the 2-3 weeks where maybe he doesn't feel great or something's off and gives up. There's always those starts with him where it's like 10 hits, 11 hits. One of these years, if he can avoid that, he's going to, I think, win a Cy Young.
Yeah. All right. I'm going kind of probably something I've said every single year on this podcast, but it feels actually true this time. If you have any October plans on your schedule, clear them now. I think this Giants team, with how they looked last year and how many things went wrong, new manager, fresh blood, fresh energy, a full season of Rafi Devers, I think this is a team that's going to make their place in the NL West, especially as the Padres kind of are slowly dismantled over the next couple of months and years.
We'll see where that goes with them. Yeah, it's an interesting time for them because they have all these guys who are core pieces and in their primes and locked up. And it's kind of like, do it now or...
Yeah, there's big money getting spent, and all that money is going to start to hurt in, 4 or 5 years when those guys stop performing. So if you don't do it now, it's going to get harder to do a few years later.
We'll switch roles again. I'll be the negative guy. You don't want to look at the ages of some of these guys after whatever labor war there is a year from now. So yeah, next year it's a push all the chips in situation for this team next year.
It's a big year. So I'm excited to see how it goes. Giants Talk will be there all year long doing podcasts. We had a fabulous time during the 2025 season with you guys, breaking down this team, talking about some of those great walk-offs, the great moments. We're going to have even more fun in 2026. And if you have not done so yet, please go out and purchase The Franchise by Alex Pavlovic.